Arsenal. What a bloody result last night for them. The feeling is that they've playing like champions. It's very Fergie-esque, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They're finding a couple of late goals throughout the season, which is great. Last night was absolutely massive moment as well. When you come to think of it, and if you look at just like goal scorers and assisters, Saka didn't get on the street.
Or
Odegaard, who are having fantastic years. If you told me when we did our last episode that we're going to be sitting here with Arteta in charge, leading Arsenal to what could be the title, with Odegaard being the main man and Saka being as well classed as he has been all year, and that's with Gabriel Jesus being out for the last interim period.
Yeah, well, since before the World Cup.
Absolutely incredible. There was massive calls for them to get the sack. I honestly think I said in a couple of podcasts, even though it's ages ago, before the season, that I think he would get the sack throughout the year.
I was the same.
It just shows that when you give a manager time, and a manager that has some pedigree behind him as a player and obviously learning under Pep, that when he finally decided that this is the system, this is what I'm playing, and this is the team that I'm going to build around.
Yeah.
This is the fruition, and it's really good for an Arsenal as the football club. It's good for the Premier League to have Arsenal back, and to all the Arsenal supporters there, long may it continue for you.
Yeah, well done for sticking through with Arteta. I think it's symbolic last night, really, that it's the first time in 37 years that a player was not on the pitch for Arsenal that had played under Arsene Wenger. So that is, for me, that's the sign that this team is actually moving in the right, not moving in the right direction, but that it is a transition now. Like, they can finally close that book almost in a way, because, you know, he was a fantastic leader of that club for, 20 odd years. But now it's Arteta's team. Like, this is 100% Arteta's team. The only player that really was in the team regularly that was under Wenger was Granit Xhaka. And when I saw that midfield last night, no Xhaka, no Jorginho, and I saw Fabio Vieira sitting in that midfield with Odegaard, I thought, what's going on here? Like, bit interesting, but also they go 2-0 down. We'll get to that. But they're just finding a way. They did it against Aston Villa. Jorginho finds that goal. That's an own goal through Martinez.
Good hit.
Great hit, and then Martinelli also gets that goal through. But they're just... It's very Manchester United feel at the moment, isn't it? They just find a way.
Yeah, and like all the best sides always found a way. You had Fergie under United. Klopp's had moments at Liverpool. When you come to think of Everton, City, couple late goals there.
The company goal and Aguero.
Yeah, and obviously our goal with Pickford and Divock Origi's massive.
Yep.
If you look at a European spectrum, obviously we had the Barcelona night under Klopp, and then Arteta's now creating these moments here with Arsenal. And it puts them just in a position where, even if they didn't do it this year, which I think they will, it puts them with so much confidence for the project moving forward. And it's quite scary to think about how good they actually could become under this project too.
100%, because they've been doing this without really European football, and their recruitment's been, who can we bring in now? Who's happy to come play Europa League? Who's happy to build the project? You look at Zinchenko, always touted as a good player, but in and out of that City team. Jesus, talented player, but same thing, just doesn't score goals. Same thing, he hasn't had to score goals this year because they've had Odegaard, they've had Saka, they've got Martinelli, they've found goals from other areas, and then they've had such a big period with no Jesus this year that they've had to make it work. And for me, I thought Trossard coming in was a crucial signing. They needed that little bit of extra depth.
Agreed.
But we said privately, where does he fit? Because at the time, Martinelli was flying, and Nketiah was flying, and Saka's Saka. So Martinelli has kind of fallen out, come back in. I think the front three really now, and Nketiah's the one that's unfortunately missed out, because to his downfall, his goals probably haven't been there. I think that number 9 role's still not really sorted. I could still see long-term Jesus almost being the left-sided player, similar to Darwin, doing that dog work on one side, because Trossard gives them something completely different in that false 9. What do you think they're going to need to make sure that this is their title? That's the big question for me.
What they're going to need to win the title, keep doing what they're doing, keep grinding the results. It doesn't matter if they win 3-2 after being 2-0 down now. It does not matter if they win the game 1-0 with 40 shots, only one goes in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they win a game with only one shot and the ball goes in. So for them, it's just keep grinding the results. I like the problems, the selection headache They didn't seem like they had that at the start of the year, and without being in the Champions League, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Now that they're making it to the back end of the Europa League, that signing of Trossard's crucial to allow for some sort of rotation.
Yep, same with Smith Rowe.
Yeah, Martinelli Smith Rowe's been injured for most of it, but Martinelli playing week in, week out, as much as he's a good player, needs the rest. Same way when Jesus is injured and Nketiah has now picked up a knock, you need that depth up top. You also need, what happens on the day where Saka might miss a week or two throughout the back end of the season if something goes wrong.
Like Reece Nelson contributing as well, which we haven't talked about yet as well.
Yeah. But that signing of Trossard just goes, well, he can fill in multiple areas.
Yeah.
And that's a player that just wanted to be excited. Well, it was a player that's so exciting to watch, is what I should say.
Premier League proven's the key too.
Exactly, and someone that was kind of dying for a move away from Brighton, especially under De Zerbi. So with that being said, I think that was really smart business. And he's a guy that maybe where they needed 2 extra depth players, he's 2 players in one because he's so versatile. In terms of what else they need to do for the rest of the season is, I just think at the moment Arsenal starting to concede a few more goals than what they did at the start of the year, but teams do drop off throughout the year. You can't stay at that consistently
Newcastle
high
doing
level.
that too now as well.
Exactly. Liverpool historically, if you have a look at what they've done this year, it's 1 year of unbelievable and then this. I think that if they can somehow just reset defensively and go back to those many a clean sheet they had at the first half of the year, they'll win the league.
100%.
And with the way they're grinding out results, they add some clean sheets in with that. I don't see a world where City catches them.
Yeah, I think defensively there's 2 question marks for me. It's who's going to be the long-term right back, because I think this is the first time Arteta's had that question mark because Tomiyasu's fit. And there's been times where White's played 45 minutes and then Tomiyasu, and then it's been Tomiyasu then White, and then this morning it was Tomiyasu, White then scores.
Yeah.
I think he's just really trying to find that balance in the big games, and when he needs that, I think it's going to be Ben White, honestly, when the big game comes. But knowing that you've got 2 really quality right wing backs on that side. The other one for me is Gabriel. Fantastic centre back, great leader, but has that mistake in him. Reminds me a lot of sort of the way Kanate plays for Liverpool. Can have stretches of games where he's brilliant, but then can also have brain farts and really switch off. So I think and you pair that with Saliba, who's in his first real season with Arsenal, although he's been there for 3.
Doing unbelievable though.
Yeah, and that's a new partnership, so that will take time still, and there will be moments where. So I think they're the 2 things that really it's just time. It's knowing who the right back is, and it's building that sustainable partnership for years to come, because I think that is. Gabriel looks old. He's only 24, 25, I think.
Yeah.
And Saliba's 21, 22. So they've got a partnership there for 10 years. So realistically, that's the only big question marks. The other one for me is that number 6 role. And that's what worries me, because last year, Partey goes down and they fall away. Jorginho's not the same player as Partey. I don't think he's been brought in to be Thomas Partey 2.0. But you saw his impact this morning. Energy, power, athleticism, goals. Very hard combination to be able to replace. So that's my worry, because there's if he doesn't get injured, there's no problem whatsoever. But he is as crucial to Arsenal as Virgil van Dijk has been to Liverpool. Correct. In my eyes, because he's that irreplaceable player that when we talk about going further up the pitch, they've got Vieira, they've got Trossard, they've got Reece Nelson, they've got players that Nketiah that are serviceable, that will do a job for an extended period of time. But I don't see that midfielder, because Xhaka's been so good up the pitch. And if Partey does get injured, I think that is the move. I think it's Xhaka drops deeper and you lose his ability to then drive forward, and you just put Vieira or something in that 8 role. So I think that's the way it would happen. But the fact that we're just talking about question marks shows, I think Arsenal are going to win the league, because last night, City put the question to them. They said, we've just gone and knocked off Newcastle 2-0 at home. What are you going to do about it? They would have known that result, and they would have known the pressure that then builds to perform, and then going 2-0 down the other way, going, this is a 4-goal swing and 3 points. The character that showed was absolutely brilliant. So let's get on to some of those goals now. So obviously the Bournemouth goal from kickoff, I literally just jumped into bed. 11
seconds.
And I hadn't even rolled over. I just heard the commentary, but it was off the training pitch. That was exactly done by design to exploit that space down Arsenal's left-hand side to be able to work that ball across. Fantastic. Their second goal set piece, I believe it was, from memory.
Yep.
We'll leave it there. Get to Arsenal. Thomas Partey, as I've mentioned, probably lacking goals at times. He scores wonder goals, but I'd say if he can contribute another 4 or 5 more, he'd be like elite midfielder. Yeah. Right place, right time, gets it through, good finish. Ben White comes on, does his job. First goal for Arsenal, I believe. What a time. Moment. Yeah, what a time. But the timing's crucial. That first goal gave them, half an hour still to be able to get back in the game. And then it was bang, straight away, 2-2, and the foot down. Because Bournemouth, you offer them 2-2, they're going to take 2-2.
I'll snap it.
But then step up, Reiss Nelson, not just the finish, but the moment, the weak foot. But for a young player that's not played, to take that on shows balls and courage that I don't think many people would. I think a lot of people in that situation would try and bring that ball down and just throw that secondary ball in towards the back post and try and cause chaos. But he's brought it down with his strong foot, put it to his left foot and gone, I'll hit it.
And that's just it. And this is why I think Arsenal win the league. You've got a guy there that hasn't played much football to show that moment of quality. Is very Ferguson-esque, like when they had Macheda coming off the bench.
That season.
And, and he'll do something incredible. No one's heard of him since. He went back to Serie B football.
And he went to Panathinaikos for a while.
And Reiss Nelson, no disrespect, similar sort of mould of footballer. Don't really see much of him. And then he does things that are just so incredible at times.
He's so talented, that's the thing.
For me, it's the cojones of Arteta to throw a guy on like that and go get me something.
Yeah.
As well. And it just shows much of the progression in the last 3 years of we want Arteta out to this guy, when he wants to be, is so switched on as a manager.
He knows what he's got.
And he's able to get that out of his players too. And credit to Reiss Nelson, it was a fantastic goal, fantastic moment. And look, I would much rather Arsenal win the league than City.
So would
I. So I was very happy when it flew in.
Yeah, and just... I think they're there. Well, not there, but there's still a lot to happen. They still have to play City one more time.
Yep.
Any form of positive result, even a draw, really makes it difficult for City. City pushing for Champions League. So I really think that, they're potentially going to get the job done. And good on them. But they haven't won it in since 2004. So almost, 20 years. So, get the job done.
It's about time the cycle came around, I think, for them.
Yeah, and they've been through enough pain. We've seen Liverpool have that cycle as well. We've absolutely ripped apart Arsenal for a good couple of years, really. Since we started the podcast, they've been at that bottom end of that trajectory. So, well done to the Gunners. And look, they've got some big games coming up as well. They've got Fulham next. They've got some real winnable games. And this is where they've had the buckle before. It's time to put the foot down. They've got an okay draw, I think, in the Europa League from the top of my head. I can't quite remember who it was, but, I think they're, right in pole position right now, which I wouldn't have said, with a few of the results they were getting. In City,